The biggest thing that I see holding men back from achieving the results and the life that they really want isn't through injury, it isn't through lack of time, and it isn't even through work or family commitments. It's you, it's them. It's what stares you back in the mirror every day and tells you stories that aren't even true. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the 6 mistakes that are quietly sabotaging your progress, and they're sneaky mistakes because on the surface they seem quite reasonable and they might not be so obvious to you as being the areas that really hold you back, because most of the guys that I speak to tell me that time, injuries, work, family commitments, these are the limiting factors. And of course, they are genuine hurdles that do slow down progress, but they're only going to prevent you from progressing long term and from achieving the success that you want if you've got the wrong plan. So without any further ado, here are the real limiting factors that are killing your progress and keeping you stuck. So let's lock in and get to it. Number one is simple. It's not being honest, whether it's with yourself or with others. It's a massive barrier to your progress and to your growth. And to be honest with you, it's one of the biggest things that piss me off when I know someone isn't being honest, because honesty is one of my highest values. So when I can tell that someone is beating around the bush, not telling me how it is, sometimes because they actually think they're being nice, it really, really irks me. It really grinds my gears. So by not being honest with yourself, or not being honest with others, not telling people how it is, it's actually holding you back, and it's unkind. Not telling someone how it is actually an unkind thing to do. Sometimes you have to tell people how it is. And if we look at my business, for an example, there will be times when I feel a bit of friction with telling a client that they're doing something wrong, that they are telling themselves a story, that they are repeating the same mistake. But the impact long term is going to be that they continue to hold themselves back, that they continue to not see the progress that they want. So in the long term, it's the thing that they really need. In the short term, it might piss them off. In the short term, and I'll always say it, of course, in a compassionate and kind way, but in the long term, it's the thing that they need. In the short term, it might feel a little bit harsh. It might feel like an attack on them, an attack on something that they see as an identity that they hold. But there's nothing worse than a coach who mollycoddles their clients and tiptoes around them and doesn't actually tell them the things that they need to be working on in order to see success in the long term. And this brings to mind when James Smith has, and whether you know James Smith or not, whether you like James Smith or not, what he said here is completely true. Now, James Smith is a bit of a contrasting character in the fitness industry, and he does seem to split opinions, but he has designed his entire business and the entire messaging around that. He wants a 50-50 split. He wants 50% of people to like him and agree with him, and he wants 50% of people to despise him and completely disagree with him and his opinions. Because if he sat on the fence, if he was in a grey area, if he didn't say what really was on his mind or what he really felt, then he's going to end up with a three-way split. He's going to end up with 33% of people thinking, yeah, I quite like this guy. 33% of people thinking, no, don't really like him, not my cup of tea. And then another 33% of people won't really care. So he only ends up with 33% of people from his audience actually liking him. Whereas if he's very black and white, if he tells people how it is, if he's honest, then he might upset more people, but he's going to have more people liking him as well. It's 50-50. And this is something that I see fairly often with guys that are interested in joining my program. They tell me that they need to go away and think about it, that they need to go and ask the missus, that money is tight, when in reality, these might be valid reasons that might limit them and might be causing concern, but it's not the truth. It's not the real thing that's holding them back from taking a chance and actually biting the bullet and doing it. In reality, they maybe just don't want to do it. They don't actually think that they can achieve it. They don't value it enough, because they say in one breath that they can't afford a £99 a £99 one-off program over 6 weeks that will more than likely kickstart their results for the rest of their life and will be unlike anything that they've ever tried before. But then they go and book a holiday that costs £1,000. And of course, I would never tell you to not go away and book a holiday. That's not what I'm saying at all. But what I am saying is be fucking honest. If you value going on that holiday more than you value in investing in your health, more than you value being the man that you want to be and showing up for the people in your life in the way that you know that you can, then that's fine. That's absolutely fine. I'm not here to tell you what you should do or shouldn't do, or what you should value or shouldn't value. That is completely down to you. But be honest with it. Don't tell me that you need to go away and think about it. You need to go and speak to the missus, when in reality, you don't value it enough. You don't value becoming the man that you want to become. You don't value doing the work in order to overcome the barriers that you faced for a very long time, improving your confidence, improving your energy so that everyone else around you gets that best version of you. If you value the holiday more than that, just say it. And I respect you far more for that if you do come out and say it than if you were to beat around the bush, maybe say that you're just going to go away and think about it and then never fucking speak to me again. That shows dishonesty, a lack of integrity, and whilst in the moment you're trying to avoid that friction, that feeling of discomfort where you have to tell someone the truth, in the long term it causes me far more pain and frustration and holds you back in the long term as well. And saying maybe, saying I need to go away and think about it, at the end of the day it's just a polite way of saying no. I'd rather have the no, and I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm big enough and ugly enough, and I've been doing this long enough to know that I can't help everyone and that not everyone wants to be helped. But if I do shine that mirror towards you and show you that you are telling yourself a story, and if I call you out on your BS, that you don't need to go away and talk to the missus, that you don't need to go and think about it, that you don't need to go and look in your bank account as if you don't actually know how much money's in there. We all know how much money's in our bank account, roughly, okay? So if I do shine that mirror towards you and call the fucking elephant in the room out, and then if you cannot explicitly tell me that you value the holiday more than you value investing into your health and improving your life, then it's time for you to be honest with yourself, and it's time for you to create a new order of your priorities and to get yourself out of your own way, because it all begins with honesty, being honest with yourself, being honest with others, and deciding what you really want to do. So yeah, lack of honesty, it does really piss me off, because I can feel it, you can feel it. There's an elephant in the room there, but it's almost as if we accept the lie. We accept that little white lie to say, yeah, I'm not sure I can afford it. You know you can afford it, or you can't afford it. And it honestly reminds me of that old saying of, a lie is sweet at first, but bitter in the end, whereas the truth is bitter at first, but sweet in the end. Because if someone tells you a lie, it might be in their intentions to actually save you from having your feelings hurt, for example, and that might feel sweet at first because it eases the awkwardness of having that truth and that honesty given to you. But eventually, when you find out the truth anyway, when the reality hits home, it's incredibly bitter, all because the person couldn't stomach that uncomfortable feeling of just telling you the truth in the first place, which might have been bitter at first, but is going to be far more sweet in the end than someone lying to you and trying to be kind, which is actually an unkind thing to do. Number 2 is not taking responsibility for where you currently are. I see so many men doing this, and it's something that I've been very guilty of in the past as well, but it's pointing the finger of blame at someone else, at something else, whether it be a person that might hold you back or cause you some discomfort in terms of makes you feel sad or makes you feel angry, and you allow that to seep into you, and it causes you to affect your behaviors. Whether it will be a lack of time, pointing the finger of blame at not having enough time, or having work commitments, family commitments. If you constantly point the finger of blame at something else, you will never ever take responsibility for your own actions and what you need to do. Taking responsibility certainly doesn't mean blaming yourself, but it means taking control. You can't always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose how you respond to those circumstances. And I'll say that again, you will not be able to always choose your circumstances, but you can always choose how you respond to those circumstances. And it might not be your fault that a particular thing has happened to you. It might not be your fault that you had an abusive parent, for example, but it would be your fucking responsibility to overcome it. It's your fucking responsibility to make sure that you deal with the things that caused you the trauma, so that you don't pass it on to your kids, that you don't cause this generational line of trauma to just continue on to the next generation, to the next generation. It's your responsibility to work through those things. It's your responsibility to seek help and to overcome the things that have caused you difficulties in the past. And that might be quite an extreme example of an abusive parent, but it's something that you see all the time, is trauma being passed down through generations and generations. But the more you can take responsibility for everything in your life, the more peace you're going to find. It's the same when I've had chats with clients who said work's been mental, so I ordered a takeaway. Yes, of course, work being mental is going to cause you some problems, and ordering a takeaway every couple of weeks, not an issue whatsoever. I'd like you to do that. I want you to enjoy the process. But if it's actually holding you back and you're blaming work on the fact that you ordered a takeaway, that's an issue. That's you not taking responsibility. No one or anything is causing you to order a takeaway. It's your lack of preparation. It's your lack of ability to be able to deal with the stress and the tiredness that work is causing you. Because others in that same job who have more children, who might have a sick parent, and all of this extra circumstance and plates to spin, they find a way. And the difference isn't time, the difference isn't the stress, the difference isn't the energy. It's taking responsibility for your actions, for what you do and don't choose to do. I again prefer the honesty, someone to tell me, "Oh, I fucking wanted a takeaway, so I ordered one." I'd prefer that than someone blaming the fact that they ordered a takeaway on an external factor. Number 3 is not being willing to take risks, because at the end of the day, if you risk nothing, you will get absolutely nothing back. And as a famous man once said, you got to risk it for a chocolate biscuit. You're never ever going to be 100% certain about anything. And risks, they don't want to cripple you. You don't want to take a risk. These have to be calculated risks. Risks don't want to cripple you if they don't come off. So financially, it doesn't want to cripple you. But if you're not willing to take risks, whether that's investing time, energy, money into a solution, then you just stay stuck and you stay frustrated, and you're going to live a life full of regrets. Number 4 is throwing money at a problem and hoping that because you've paid for something, you've paid for a service, you've paid for a product, that results are going to be guaranteed. Now, this is a bit of a contrast to not being willing to take risks, but I really do believe that investing in yourself is such an important factor towards overcoming the barriers and the obstacles that you've been facing. You cannot, however, outsource the internal work. You have to be willing to change and grow as a person and as a man at that same time. And if you want to achieve long-term results, you can't just achieve an external result and expect it to stick. You have to change internally as well. And any external change or physical result will be short-lived if there isn't also an internal change to accompany it. If you're not willing to look into why the fuck you ended up in this place and this position anyway in the first place, why you stopped caring, why you gave up that last time round, why it didn't work for you, why you potentially let yourself drift, then it doesn't matter what program or what diet or whatever you choose to do, and it doesn't matter how much money you throw at it, it's not going to be fixing it long term because you haven't been willing to do the internal work. Number 5, again, a little bit of a contrast to the last one. Throwing money at a solution doesn't work if you're not willing to do the internal work. But number 5 is going it alone, is believing that after all this time, you're still going to be able to do this alone. Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again whilst expecting different results. So whilst this is a bit of a contradiction to the previous point, I really do believe that you should be investing in yourself, but you have to be willing to actually make the most of the process. I would rather someone was to say to me, "No, I don't think I'm ready to change internally right now, and I'm going to work on X, Y, and Z in the meantime, and then I'm going to be willing to be able to work internally." We will then explore together whether they're just holding themselves back and telling themselves a story, but we will have a very objective conversation around it as to whether I think that, yeah, now is not the right time. Sometimes it's not the right time to join, but if you do genuinely believe that if you have failed for years and years and years, and you're just going to do the same thing over and over again and try it on your own, then you will hold yourself back and you will end up disappointed in the long term. And we're all capable of thinking this way. We're all capable of, when we're stuck, thinking, or maybe we know deep down it's not going to work, but we think that we can back ourselves out of it and figure a way out of it, which is an admirable trait to have. But as I say, Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And if you genuinely believe that without investing in new information and new levels of help and new support, that you're going to crack this code that you've been struggling to crack all of a sudden, then you're just holding yourself back and you're telling yourself a lie. And I've seen this countless times with clients who on the surface felt like they knew exactly what to do, but didn't. When they actually realized, they looked at it internally, they didn't. They really didn't know what to do. I had a client called Matt who would go through phases of ticking all of the boxes. He would be prepping his food. He would be tracking his calories. He'd be getting to the gym. He'd be getting to bed earlier, getting his steps in. He'd be doing all of the things he knew he should be doing, but something would happen and he would fall off track. And he couldn't keep those high standards up. And the only way he got over this was when he bit the bullet, decided to work with me in particular, just happened to be me, and he realized that he'd been stuck in this all or nothing cycle. And we actually had to help him to learn how to not be perfect, to learn how to go from, instead of nothing into all and all into nothing, to go all into something, to shift up and down the gears. And he realized that he'd been trying to be perfect, and that when life would happen, because life does happen and stress happens and shit happens, that he'd fall right off. So we introduced him to the gear system. We put different expectations in place for different things and different times and different levels of stress that he'd experienced in his life. So without investing in that, without investing in someone else's level of information and support, he would be stuck in that cycle still to this day. So You need someone there who's going to recognize your blind spots, someone there who's going to shine a light on those limiting beliefs and stories that you tell yourself that you might not even be aware that you're telling yourself, and to guide you to realize that you are fucking holding yourself back, and to help you to build better boundaries, to give you the tried and tested formula and roadmap to how you can get these results and make it stick for life, and to give you a kick up the arse when it's needed as well. Because at the end of the day, you need three areas to be able to see amazing results. You need the skill, you need the will, and you need the belief. If you don't have the knowledge, if you don't have the know-how, you can get that online. You can get it for free. Why aren't you getting it? If you haven't got the will, sometimes you need to do more of the internal work. You need to figure out your vision, your values. You need to figure out what it is that gives you that drive, that makes it not a fucking possibility that you're going to stay in this place anymore. And if you don't have the belief, then that's probably the hardest thing to get. And sometimes you need to be getting small wins to be able to see that it does work. And you need to have a good fucking open, honest chat with someone about what you can actually do to get out of the place that you don't want to be in anymore. So skill, will, belief, those are the three areas that you need to make incredible progress. And finally, number 6 of what it is that I see holding men back from achieving the things that they really want in life is not setting any boundaries. So an example of a boundary that I have currently that I really do try and implement is that I don't take calls during the day. My family know that to get through to me, you have to ring twice, as the first call is automatically silenced. So if you ring me twice and you get through, it better be a fucking emergency. Someone better be in trouble, because if you ring me twice and you just want to chat about the weather and I'm in the middle of a fucking important task and I have a terrible ability to get into a flow and to focus, I'm going to be pretty pissed off. So if you do phone me in the middle of the day twice to get through, and it could have been something that you could have sent as a text or a voice note, and I don't then re-establish that boundary and tell you, then it's my own fault. Because if it's taking me out of my workflow, if it's distracting me, if it's causing me to work into the evenings because I'm not getting my work done and causing me discomfort, I could easily blame the person that's phoning me, but ultimately it's my fault because I need to reset that boundary and implement it and be a little bit assertive with it as well. So at the end of the day, it's going to be my fault. It's going to be me that's holding back from achieving my goals because I'm not putting that boundary back in place. No one else's fault, my fault. And it goes back to taking responsibility. If someone crosses my boundary, it's my fault for letting them. It's the old saying, isn't it? Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So take responsibility for everything in your life. Set boundaries. Tell people when they're crossing the line. Tell people when they're affecting you. And you will get so much further in life and you'll get so much further with your results. And it really does tie into this. It ties into the circle of influence. So in the middle circle, this is what we want to be the biggest part of the circle. This is what we have fully within our control. We have our thoughts, we have our feelings, we have our actions, we have our reactions to things, we have our decisions, we have our mood, and we have our mindset and work ethic. These are the things that are 100% within your control. But by working on that inner circle, eventually that circle gets bigger and bigger and bigger. So it really ties into what I mentioned a second ago. It's my own fault if I let someone cross my boundary and piss me off, because someone can say something, it's my choice whether I let it in and allow myself to react to it and let it negatively drain my energy. So by having these 6 areas in place, by being honest with yourself, honest with what needs to change in your life, honest with the people around you who might be asking too much, honest with the people that might not be serving you anymore and are holding you back, by taking responsibility for where you are in your life, both for the good and the bad, not pointing the finger of blame at people or things that have got in your way, even accepted that it might be your fault that you're letting someone else negatively affect your mood, negatively affect your thoughts or your feelings or your mindset or your work ethic, and that you're only going to be letting those areas be affected if you let someone else in, and it's your choice to do so. If you take calculated risks, if you find what you need to know about a product or a service that you feel that could help you, and then you pull the trigger on it despite it potentially being a risk. If you're willing to invest but do the internal work at the same time. If you're willing to ask for help and allow someone who's already walked the path to guide you. If you're willing to set boundaries so that you can protect your energy and be in a place where you no longer put everything else and everyone else before you, so that you can be the best version of you to the people that matter most. If you have all of these areas in place, then I promise you, you are going to be unstoppable. That is my promise to you. Your results will be inevitable. The result that you want, not just with your body or with your fitness or your health, but the result that you want with your life, with being the man that you want to be, it will be on its way. And I speak about these principles every single week on my mailing list. So if you're not subscribed, you can do so with the links in the description. Or if you would like to kill two birds with one stone and both subscribe to my mailing list and download a free guide on discovering your vision and values, which I mentioned earlier on, and building a vision that allows you to actually find consistent motivation, consistent action, to unlock a really powerful why that allows you to find so much more power behind what you're doing and what you know that you need to be doing, that will also be in the link below and in the description. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, to like and subscribe. Don't forget to subscribe if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. If you've enjoyed this video and you've enjoyed this podcast, please do give it a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.